At the beginning of lockdown, like many of you, I was feeling anxious and worried. I suffer with asthma and my asthma wasn't under control. I wondered what the next few weeks were going to have in store for me. But about this time, Ali was doing some talks, and in one of them she mentioned claiming God's promises. So I decided I was going to reread some of them. And the first one I came across was Isaiah 41 verse 10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I'll uphold you with my righteous right hand. I even wrote them on post-its and stuck them to my kitchen window so that when I was doing the washing up I could reread them and claim them. About this time, on Facebook, photographs started to pop up of a holiday we'd had 2 years ago in Japan. We'd gone to see the cherry blossom. We arrived in Tokyo, and 2 days later we set off for the Japanese Alps. We were going to do some hiking and follow the trade route that the ancient samurai warriors followed. We got off the train at a very small place, and a couple got off at the same time, just one other couple. They looked British. In fact, they were Irish. We had a chat with them, and then we each went to our respective B&Bs. But during that evening, my asthma was triggered again. This time I was developing laryngitis. However, the next day, we set off on our hike, up and over the mountains, through the forest, to the next B&B. And who should be there but the Irish couple? We spent the dinner time chatting and discovered that we were on the same train, but we were going to first of all hike up and over again the next mountain and to catch the train. As we were walking along, I was chatting to Vera, the lady, and asked if she'd retired. And she said no, she hadn't retired, she was still working. Oh, what do you do? I asked. I'm a doctor. Oh, are you a GP? No, she said, I work in the hospital on the west coast of Ireland. And what's your specialism? I asked. I'm a respiratory consultant. You are just the person I need, I said. No, she said, you will be okay. Laryngitis is a virus, but you just need to look after your breathing and take care of that, but you will be okay. It was as if God was reassuring me that everything would be okay. We travelled on through Kyoto. My hay fever started, and again my asthma got worse. I'd got inhalers with me, but they were really not helping too much, and I rang a doctor friend of ours who advised me to take the steroids that I brought along, the rescue pack. So I started to take those. By the time we got to Hiroshima, on the final night, I was so poorly I had to sit upright to breathe and had borrowed humidifier from the hotel, but still I was struggling. I had 1 tablet left, but a whole week of the holiday to go. I didn't know what I was going to do. And the GP friend had said, if it doesn't get any better, you need to see a doctor. But how do you see a doctor in Japan? We couldn't speak Japanese. We'd no idea where the hospitals were. Not seen a doctor's surgery anywhere. And that night, we were just walking through the town of Hiroshima, looking for somewhere to eat, and I noticed a sign in a window that said English and Japanese food served here. So we went inside. And just in the doorway was a table, and a Japanese lady, was sitting there teaching a group of boys English. She spoke fluent English and started to talk to us, asked where we came from in England. And we said, oh, you won't have heard of the place. It's not very big. It's between Manchester and Birmingham. And she said, yeah, I might know it. And we said, right, it's Stoke-on-Trent. Oh, yes, I know where Stoke-on-Trent is. I lived and worked in Nottingham for 14 years. In fact, I married Andy from Nottingham. Martin told her about my asthma, that I was suffering from it. And she said, well, Andy suffers from asthma too. I'll give him a ring and he can have a chat with you. I'm sure he'll be able to help. So I spoke to Andy, and he offered me some Japanese medicinal cure, and I said, no, I didn't think I would take that. I just needed some more steroid tablets to keep me going. And he said, well, I could get you an appointment with my doctor. When do you leave? And we said, well, we leave tomorrow. Oh, right, that's okay. I'll just email him. And as he was emailing and talking to me, he said, what time do you leave? And I said, the train is at 10 o'clock. Well, that's okay. I could get you an appointment at 9. Where's your hotel? And we explained where it was. And he said, well, that's no trouble at all, because as you walk from your hotel to the railway station, you'll go past my doctor's surgery. So at 9 o'clock the next day, we met up with them outside the surgery, and they showed me upstairs, and I started to talk to the doctor, who wasn't familiar with my inhaler but looked it up, and that was no trouble because he could speak English, very good English. And he asked about the steroid tablets, and I said I was worried I only had one left but a whole week of the holiday to go. And he picked up his bag and rummaged through it and then produced and counted out the steroid tablets that I was on. There were enough to keep me going for the next week, and a few more besides until I had time to see my doctor. With my breathing stabilised, the cherry blossom came out, and we carried on with our travels. So do not fear, said Isaiah, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. So God was faithful to his word.